Let's be quite frank here. One of the hardest things on the planet, especially in the modern world, is holding the attention of someone for an extended period. You see, social media has completely destroyed the ability of men and women to focus on one thing continuously. But when feelings and attraction are involved, this all changes. You see, nothing feels better than waking up to a beautiful morning message of having someone check in on you each day because they're thinking about you. But with so many options available for most women, why would she focus on thinking about you when there are tons of other distractions and men to keep her busy? The great thing is that if you can unlock certain feelings and moods, you have the power to get a woman to think about you nonstop. However, most men don't understand how this works, and if they manage to do it, it's often through some kind of toxic behavior instead of having her wanting you and trying to make sure you're doing good. But before we look at how you make her think about you nonstop, we should look at what triggers this kind of behavior in women. What you need to know about making her obsessed with you. Obsession is one of the toughest words on the planet, and whilst it can be a bad thing, it often has some good elements to it as well. You see, when someone obsesses about their career or their goals, it often helps them bring changes and improvements to their lives, which automatically makes them better as a person. However, the female mind operates a little differently, and whilst men are mostly driven by pragmatic and practical things, women need to feel that connection and intensity that unlocks certain emotions within them, which makes them think about you all the time. On the flip side, you can obviously try to play games by flaunting another woman, but this is one of those toxic kinds of behaviors that often backfires and could easily lead to absolute hatred from the other person. What you're looking to do is create feelings of security and comfort within her. This means that if you're not with her, she misses you, and she wants you to be around to feel the same level of security and comfort. You can also focus on creating excitement, which often works in the initial phases of any relationship. If you manage to instill this sense of security and comfort in a woman, you will see how her personality changes. And some of the other things we mentioned in our other videos, which focus on female behavior, will happen to you. Yes, you will be woken up by cute messages in the morning, and she might even text you during the day to find out how your day's been. But for this video, we'll be eliminating all of the bad behaviors that cause obsession to focus on some of the healthier ways you can elicit this. Now, keep in mind that this will require some work from you, but ultimately, you should see great results, and she'll naturally begin to fixate about you and her. Let's dive in. Number 1. The ultimate gentleman. They say chivalry is dead, and whilst a simple look at the world around you will confirm this, nothing beats a man who can be the ultimate gentleman when it comes to women. You see, women still crave this within their partners, and when you manage to bring this out, you'll naturally see more success when dating. However, a massive difference arises when you consider being a gentleman and a nice guy. The nice guy is what's considered to be a fake gentleman, and these men often only focus on what they can gain from a specific situation. You've probably seen this type of man, or worse, you might have dabbled in some of the elements that make up the nice guy. When it comes to the nice guy, everything seems fine on the surface, but when you delve deeper into their intentions, a darker story begins to reveal itself. The nice guy is only nice because they're looking to gain something for themselves from the interaction. But life's not that simple, and most of the time, you'll not get what you want, which is when the nice guy often becomes the bad man. If a nice guy doesn't get what he wants, he completely flips the script and becomes darker, often leading to manipulation and trying to force women to be with him. Fortunately, women have learned to spot these men, and they'll naturally try to stay away. However, the gentleman does things not so he can try to gain something. In fact, his actions are simply part of his personality, and he'll do this with everyone. The gentleman doesn't only become nice when he's around attractive women. He'll be the same kind of person regardless of the woman he's around. But women crave this type of man, who is often still firm and focuses on his own goals as well. Number 2, paying attention to her. Another thing women crave is a man who pays attention to her. You see, most men live in their own world and they rarely listen to what others have to say. You see, the world has become so tough and complicated that it's much easier to shift your mental focus to yourself and only focus on these personal endeavors. Unfortunately, this means that there's absolutely no space in your life for someone else, and this is where things become a little trickier. You see, it takes two attentive people to actually get to know each other. And if you're only focused on your own self-absorbed life and personality, you'll find it extremely hard to build an actual relationship with a woman. Women want to know that you notice when they dress up, change their hair, or do anything out of the ordinary. The fact of the matter is she's most likely gone through all this trouble to impress you. So allow her to naturally impress you by giving her compliments or at least showing that you've noticed these changes. Being attentive not only applies to the physical, but if you sense she's had a bad day, you can help her work through these issues and also ensure that she's feeling better after an interaction with you. Women significantly appreciate this, and you will naturally find that she keeps on coming back for this kind of love that you're showing. The problem with most men is they simply focus on their own lives, and regardless of how much effort a woman puts in, the man's only seeking one thing. The problem with this is that the one thing he's searching for is not something she'll give away freely forever, and this leads to the end of relationships. So, if you want to be the one person a woman keeps on thinking about or talking to, you should naturally focus on paying more attention to her and what she's actually doing. It might take some work to get you started and to continue doing so, but in the end, it'll be much more worth it, and you'll reap all the benefits from this in the long run. Number 3. Give her a reason to be excited. The next one might be something many men might disagree with and believe that it's some kind of play to get her obsessed with you, but you have to ask yourself what your intentions are before you do this next little piece of advice. You see, one of the great things about excitement is the fact that it can boost dopamine and make you feel like a different person. Excitement can wash away all the negativity, and you'll be eagerly waiting for whatever this is to happen so you can escape from your normal, boring routine. One way to get a woman to think about you is to give her something to be excited about. You can plan a weekend away, or even something as simple as a date out in town instead of having to focus on doing the same thing you do each evening. Women appreciate this out-of-the-box approach, and it makes them like you even more. But this tip is actually twofold, and you should also keep in mind that spending time together doing something new or exploring the world will be incredibly powerful in terms of bonding. Yes, you want to make sure that the times you spend together are memorable, and if you can, take some pictures and even post them to social media. In times of frustration or when the world seems a little too tough, these are the things that'll keep her excited and holding on to you. You want to ensure that she always has something to think about when it comes to the kind of man you are. But if you're strapped for funds, it should not hinder you in making her somewhat excited. You see, changing the natural routine or even coming up with something as simple as a picnic in the park can be a great way to cultivate some excitement and break the norm. You see, the attraction is not created by what you're doing, but thanks to whom she's doing these things. So, if you're a homebody and you like to stay in, it might be time to break out the old dancing shoes and plan a night out in town. This will significantly elevate the relationship and create incredible levels of attraction between the two of you. Number 4. Mental stimulation is important. Whilst physical attractiveness and sexual interactions are great, no relationship can flourish when these are the only two fundamentals that hold the walls of the relationship together. For any relationship to progress, there needs to be a form of mental connection and stimulation that allows both parties to actually find some stimulation. Now, mental stimulation for women might start out being interesting and somewhat fun, but ultimately the conversation might lead back to some kind of emotion. And you'll need to understand that emotional connection is the main driving factor for women to flourish. She wants to know how you feel and if you really like her. Yes, this means that occasionally you might need to sit back a little and indulge her mental curiosities by focusing on some of the emotional conversations that she wants to have. Obviously, these conversations can be tedious as a man, especially since you want to do something more pragmatic or something fun and exciting. However, the benefit of talking about emotions is that you can quickly eliminate any insecurities on your side and her side, which allows the relationship to continue flourishing naturally without those pesky issues coming into play. You have to understand how the female mind works, and unfortunately, women tend to take things a lot more personally than men, which means that she'll be thinking something's wrong if you continuously skip out on these conversations. Whilst many red pill dating coaches will tell you to avoid emotions, a man needs to be skilled in communicating these things without allowing them to affect him personally. Number 5. Flirting. This one might seem easy, but flirting is something that actually dies down rapidly in a relationship. Once the honeymoon phase has subsided, there's absolutely no reason for many men to keep on flirting. But this is once again where men make one of the biggest mistakes. You see, women want to feel like they're desired, and much like the story of the princess and the valiant warrior, she wants to feel like she's being courted, regardless of how long the relationship's been going on. This is why you need to make sure that you remain the same kind of guy during the relationship as you were when everything started. Flirting with a woman is extremely important to make the sexual interactions feel like they've been earned and not just a right simply because the two of you are in a stable relationship. The great thing about flirting is that it can be done almost any time, and you can even go as far as initiating it via text messages or the mobile phone. You see, it all comes down to, once again, creating some excitement within her that shows her that you are a man who can elicit all these positive types of emotions. Whilst you are flirting and initiating this extra level of attraction, you're also creating a spot inside her mind that will ensure she remains fully attracted to you at all times. We recommend that flirting always remain one of the most important elements of your relationship, and you focus hard on making her a priority when it comes to your communication. Number 6. Intimacy needs to be memorable. Finally, everything boils down to intimacy, as this is where the true bond of any relationship can be formed through trust and vulnerability. Unfortunately, men don't have the experience to truly satisfy their partners in the bedroom, and whilst it still allows the release of dopamine, it doesn't necessarily create satisfaction. If you want to create a long-term obsession or ensure that she remains loyal and continuously thinks about you, you'll need to make sure that your skills in the bedroom are actually good enough to create some sort of satisfaction when it comes to her. You can look at many relationships where women are not satisfied in bed and they'll want to move on to something else or might even break up to have something better. Being better at seducing a woman after flirting all day and then satisfying her needs is one of the best ways to ensure that you're always on her mind. Now, creating the perfect intimate moments often starts whilst you're flirting, and you'll need to understand how this works. We've created numerous videos that show you exactly what women desire and want you to do when it comes to turning them on.